Madam Speaker, and I thank the chairman for his leadership on this very, very important issue. Madam Speaker, I rise today in support of my bill, H.R. 285, the Stop Advertising Victims of Exploitation, or the SAVE Act. But, Madam Speaker, I also rise today in support of all the good work done by my colleagues here in Congress on the issue of human trafficking. Madam Speaker, as a former United States ambassador, I was exposed firsthand to the horrors of human trafficking on an international level. I witnessed and reported on the devastating consequences of human trafficking, where innocent women and children were dragged into the dark abyss of sexual slavery. But never in my wildest dreams did I ever think human trafficking was so rampant right here in the United States of America. Madam Speaker, right now there are young women being forced into prostitution in virtually every district across this nation. In fact, I was shocked to learn that my own hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, has been identified as one of the top 20 areas of sex trafficking in the United States. Madam Speaker, this is a problem that is hiding in plain sight. Every year, thousands of young American lives are impacted by this despicable crime. However, there is hope. I take hope from the work that's done by law enforcement professionals who are on the front lines every day protecting our nation's children from those who would seek to exploit them. I seek hope from those who work in victim services and their tireless efforts to help survivors recover, heal, and forge new lives out of the horrors of sexual enslavement. Most importantly, I take hope from all the survivors of this hideous crime. This bracelet, Madam Speaker, was made by survivors at a safe house called Crisis Aid International in my own hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. Their strength gives us strength, their resolve gives us inspiration, and their steadfast commitment to ending sex trafficking gives us the courage to fight. I am grateful that for the many colleagues that I have that have supported legislation and held events in their home districts to raise awareness and education of this crime. Our work has yet to begin. However, Madam Speaker, there is much work to do still. Legislators, we have an obligation to come together and to do something because we can, because we should, and because we must. Over the last 10 years, prostitution has slowly but persistently migrated to an online marketplace. Classified services like Backpage.com and others are the vehicles for advertising the victims of sexual slavery in this world. Pimps and traffickers blatantly advertise their victims' sexual services with provocative photographs and unsubtle messages, complete with per-hour pricing. Websites like Backpage and others to display their messages, and these websites accordingly reap enormous profits at the expense of victims of sex trafficking. Many of these victims feature children of trafficking victims, and they're resulting in thousands of children every year being openly sold for sex on the Internet. Madam Speaker, government intervention is necessary to end facilitation of sex trafficking by websites like Backpage.com and others who commercially advertise this criminal activity. Companies that base their business models off the profits made by selling sex with children should not be allowed to operate. The SAVE Act seeks to criminalize this behavior, thereby dramatically reducing the victimization of vulnerable children and women forced into sexual slavery in the United States. Madam Speaker, this legislation passed the House last year in an overwhelming bipartisan vote of 392 to 19. I recognize that it is critically important that innocent actors are protected from the liability while giving prosecutors a means to combat human trafficking. To be clear, Madam Speaker, this legislation prohibits only those advertisements that the government can prove actually offer sex with a child or sex with an adult who is involved due to force, fraud, or coercion. There is well-established precedent for Congress to criminalize the advertising of illegal goods and services, as the chairman has outlined previously. Surely, advertisements of offering sex with children should also be the subject to the same restrictions. Criminalizing the advertisement of trafficking victims will stem the flow of money, resulting in a reduction of both demand and supply. The victims of sex trafficking are not nameless, faceless children. They are our daughters, our granddaughters, our nieces, and our neighbors. They are the vulnerable youth of our society, the ones who should be protected the most, Madam Speaker, not exploited for money and greed. I urge my colleagues to support the SAVE Act because it will provide the tools necessary for law enforcement to combat the sexual exploitation and enslavement of women and children in the United States. I thank you, and I yield back.
The gentlelady's time is